Is there a breakthrough drug that, unlike all the other available treatments for Alzheimer's disease, targets the disease itself and not just the symptoms? That's what a variety of headlines would have you believe after a study appeared in the journal Alzheimer's and Dementia evaluating Solenezumab, an anti-amyloid antibody. But in my opinion, this is flat out wrong. In fact, this article, which is incredibly dense and reads something like a love letter to the FDA, is a masterclass in how to spin your very expensive drug that failed its original clinical trial. Here's the story. Eli Lilly ran 2 phase 3 clinical trials of Solenezumab in patients with mild to moderate Alzheimer's dementia, Expedition 1 and Expedition 2. Expedition 1 missed its primary endpoint, 2 cognitive function scales. We'll call them scale A and B. But they measured a ton of scales in that study, and they found that there was a significant difference in cognitive scale X. Thinking quickly, they converted Expedition 2's primary outcome to cognitive scale X. This was clever, but swing and a miss, Expedition 2 did not achieve statistical significance on this scale. Undeterred, they combined the results of Expedition 1 and 2, and I realize this sounds a bit desperate, restricted the analysis only to people with mild Alzheimer's disease, and then finally found the statistical significance they were looking for. Of course, this isn't terribly surprising, considering that cognitive scale X was chosen because it worked in Expedition 1. Now, the current study is what's called a delayed start analysis. Here's how this works. Expedition 1 and 2 were placebo-controlled, but the people on placebo could switch over to Solenezumab after 80 weeks. So effectively, we have an early start group and a late start group. The argument is that if Solenezumab is merely masking symptoms, when you start the late start group, they will quickly catch up in terms of cognitive function to the early start group. Whereas if it's affecting the underlying disease itself, they'll never catch up. Well, they never caught up, at least according to the incredibly broad definition of catch-up that was used in this paper and the underpowered statistical test that was used to detect catch-up. Oh, and only if you look at 2 of the 4 cognitive scales that were studied. Cue breathless excitement and news headlines? Look, I would love for this to be true. We need treatments for Alzheimer's disease, but the fact is that this drug is unlikely to have any clinical benefit, at least on the individual patient level. What this trial may teach us is that there are a lot of outs for a big company when their initial drug hypothesis isn't borne out. We need to stay skeptical. Of course, if staying skeptical doesn't work, we can choose another outcome. Maybe the FDA will approve that. For MedPage Today, I'm Perry Wilson.